Hey everybody, it's your girl, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson, and we are back with a new episode of Horizons Author Lounge. And I am so looking forward tonight because we have two great guests, as we always have. But one of these guests is a longtime friend of mine. I think I met him when I first got into the industry, and we've always stayed connected. And really, really good guy. So I'm really looking forward to having a really fun conversation with him. He has a great new book out that he's going to tell you all about. He's going to give you guys some writing tips. He's going to give you guys some dating tips. And it's just going to be a really good time tonight. So without any further ado, I'm just going to bring on our first guest, Mr. Victor McGlothin. Hello.
Hey, Dr. Rhonda, you doing good?
I am great. How you doing?
I am well. Thanks for having me on. But before I forget, your lead-in music was dope. I was like, what, what, what? So yeah, good job. That really gets the juices going.
Well, see, we try to keep a vibe here in the Horizons Author Lounge, and the music just tries to help with that.
Oh, it's a vibe.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being on the show tonight. But
Yes.
before we get started, I have a special announcement.
Okay.
So, what a lot of people may not realize is that Meet the World Image Solutions has a scholarship. We actually do. A lot of people know about our 8th and ninth grade essay contest that we do every February for Black History Month. But a lot of people don't realize that we also do a graduating senior scholarship where we award a graduating senior with $1,000. And we have our winner for this year, and I'm super super excited to um, say who she is. So, without further ado, we're gonna do a drum roll. I need to really get that was really bad. I really need to get an actual sound effect with the drum roll. But for right now, we're just gonna do this. And so I would love to congratulate Brazil Perkins. You are our winner of the graduating senior scholarship. You will be receiving your ducats in the mail. I want to congratulate you. You had a wonderful essay. You're doing great in school, and you're doing so much for your community because this scholarship is not just about grades. Yes, we want people to have a good grade point average, but it's also about community service. It's about writing ability. And Brandy just gave us, or Brandy, that's her mom. Brazil gave us the whole package. So I just want to congratulate you, Brazil, on a job well done. Like I said, we will be back in touch very soon with your congratulations letter, and then we'll be sending your money once it's time for you to start school. So more information to follow on that. So once again, congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Victor.
Well, that first of all, that is huge. Offering scholarships, and I know every bit helps.
Yes.
So that money is going to be greatly utilized. And congratulations on the winner.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words. So let's get started with you. You have a lot going on. You've been very busy. You just got married. You released a new book. You're doing movies. What are you not doing?
Resting. Yeah, I'm not resting when I should be, but I'm learning though. I'm learning that it's sometimes you have to put it down.
Yes.
I just I guess a short time ago, I just figured out this thing called Tylenol PM. Tylenol PM. If you can't, your mind won't shut down. Tylenol PM will help you shut it down.
Yes.
I mean, you might feel hungover the next day, but it'll be some good sleep. So I've been doing that. But yeah, got a lot of stuff going on. Just got married, happy about it.
Yeah,
And
congratulations.
yeah, 2 books in the last 6 months: the novel writing guide for 90 days and rules for slaying the dating game. So busy, yeah.
That's wonderful. First of all, I love the fact that you wrote a book called Rules for Slaying the Dating Game, and you got married. So it sounds like you're following your own rules.
Oh yeah. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And so for people like me who are not for the streets, yeah, get that book. Get that book.
He
Get that
said, not
Rules for
the
Slaying the
street.
Dating Games book. How to reach your relationship goals, because it is very important. And a lot of us will say, yeah, I'm good at dating. And then when you ask them, when was the last time you dated? When was the last time you had a healthy relationship? And
yes.
usually, especially women, start saying years. So
What
if
do you think that is?
healthy, good relationship was years ago, then you're probably not as good or as adept at dating as you think.
Absolutely. But why do you think it is that people will say that they know a lot of, and I noticed that a lot of times because I'm on social media quite a bit. I have to promote the business, but I always run across these relationship experts who aren't actually in a relationship, but they can tell you everything about how broken a woman is, how a woman can't keep a man,
Hmm.
how men play too many games. This is what you need to be doing, but they don't have a relationship.
I know several. I know several. And one even asked me, to help her, promote her program. And I've known this lady 20 years, and she hadn't had a man that I know of in 20 years.
Wow.
And she says, "Well, I'm secretive. I'm private. I keep my business to myself." Well, how are you gonna promote successful relationships if you hide in yours?
Mm,
Yeah.
you said a
So
mouthful there.
yeah. So I don't even know. I mean, it didn't sound like the truth to me, but what can I say? But I know several that cannot sustain a healthy relationship, but
Mhm.
will write books and have podcasts on such.
Well, I think dating and the game of love, and I use my quote marks when I say that the game of love, it's kind of almost clickbait. Everybody knows that they're going to get a lot of people to comment under their post if they say something about relationships.
Hmm.
If they write a think piece on Halle Berry standing on her own balcony naked, there's going to be a think piece about it.
And it
There's going to be
is,
a think piece about Russell Wilson being stupid for taking care of Future's baby, and that Sierra should have been for the streets. It's
yeah,
always something.
oh,
People always have something to say.
but I remember when social media blew up over that. And they were calling this multimillionaire quarterback leader of his team a simp.
Yes.
And I said, well, if that's what a simp is, I want to be a simp. Where can I sign up? Because that's a man who's about his business and hundreds of millions of dollars. And he's a simp because he's taking care of a woman he loves and her child of a man that hadn't been always there for that child.
Right.
If you
Right.
ask me, that's how you step up. But it showed me a lot of people that I thought were adults when I saw their responses, and their responses were very telling,
So,
very telling.
good way to put it.
Yeah.
But what is it about relationships that we just can't seem to get right? It's like if we jump all in, we're called simps or thirsty. If we're not all there, if we don't jump all in, we're called unavailable. And we never know if we're doing it right. What is it about relationships that gives us all this uncertainty?
Right. When I say a person is doing it right, is they are continually finding people that want to date them. They are continually finding themselves in relationships that might start out healthy, and then once they falter or go the other way, they back out. But they're always having opportunities in people who are interested in dating them. Those are people who are doing it right. So I know women who have 10, 15 guys a month ask her for a phone number,
Wow.
ask them out on dates. I want to get to know more about you. I like your vibe. You're a real cool sister. You're intelligent. You're funny. What have you? And they're giving their number up, and they have to push guys away because they have so much access to men. And then other women who are just as, if not more qualified to be in healthy relationships, can't get guys to speak to them, and they're out, all night. And you're not talked about it. You can get your hair and nails done, new outfit, looking good, smelling good, feeling good, go out, and not one guy speaks to you all night long.
Yep.
There are some things that I don't want to say you're doing it wrong, or women who do that do it wrong, but there are some things that they could be doing differently, which is why one of the reasons why I wrote the rules for slaying the dating games. There are so many ways that women can attract men without wearing tight clothes or having your boobs out or getting a BBL. There's just some subtle things that attract men, and I talk about it in the book.
So how is the book organized? Is it kind of a question and answer thing, or is it every chapter has a certain amount of tips, and are all these tips are from the mind of Victor McGlothin, or did you talk with other people?
Yeah, no, good question. The book is laid out in 14 sections and 66 chapters. The chapters are short. It's a very quick read. It's funny. A lot of the stuff, people's like, okay, I knew you had a sense of humor, but it came across in this book. So it's broken up into lots of sections. Um, Dating men who are wealthy, dating professional athletes, the rules for dating a man that makes less money than you, rules for dating a man in your family, rules for dating someone of another culture. They're all the things that I could think of that women have to deal with, because the book is written for women that have to deal with, because I want women to reach their relationship goals. And so there are tips. Most of the chapters have anywhere from 10 to 15 rules in each one. And it talks about them. It breaks down the rules per chapter. So the questions I get most after people read this book is, I can't believe you want us to break the girl code because you have a chapter called Dating Your BFF's ex-boyfriend or ex-boo.
Oh yeah, that's girl code right there.
Yeah, but how long y'all gonna hold on this girl code? Now neither one of y'all got a man.
You look, that was my boyfriend 20 years ago, and he's still off limits.
I know, and I know you're joking, kinda.
Yeah,
But there are women who, like, I went out with this guy twice. He's off limits to all my girlfriends because he and I went out. No, we weren't intimate. Didn't work out for us. Nice guy, but I don't want anybody else to have him. Well, you get a couple of 100,000 women doing this. That means all of these circles that they have, men are unavailable to them. So they're
right.
short circuiting the program. When instead, I think women should really break out a piece of paper, write on the back of a napkin. Whatever you do is, these are the guys in the last year or 2 years that I had a conversation with, or went out with, or got to know, and we just didn't vibe. Pass that list to your girlfriend who's looking for a good guy, because you can vouch for them, and
Right.
she should do the same thing for every girl in her circle. And I think if women did that, especially black women, it'd be a lot more y'all, booed up and married off.
Well, I remember, if you remember the TV show Girlfriends.
Yeah,
I remember there was an episode where all of the girls had to bring an ex that maybe wasn't right for them, but maybe good for one of their girlfriends. And so everybody brought an ex. Even the guys who were invited brought an ex. Do you think that's a recipe for disaster, or could that be something good?
I would suggest not to. That's why I say just hand over the list with the email and the phone number and let them handle it. Because even though a person might say, don't have feelings for them,
Right.
you might have forgotten that you had feelings for them, or they may look a lot different than you remember. And now you want to take that person back. Wait a minute, I need to take you out the pot because now I'm interested, or I'm more interested than I was. I kissed a lot of frogs since the last time I dated you. Now I realize you're a really good guy. So I don't
Right.
want my girlfriend to have you. So having them all in the same room, I think is not only a recipe for disaster, it's asking calamity, to fall through the floor.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't, not that I don't want to see my ex happy, but I just think that you have to be in a good place where with yourself, with your current relationship, before you even try to set your ex up with a friend. Because then, even if you don't have feelings for that ex anymore, if it works out with that friend, you wonder, like, why didn't he treat me that way when we were together, or
Right.
or has my friend been checking him out the whole time? You start asking yourself these questions and telling yourself stories that are probably not even true.
Right. And he may have treated you that way, and you just didn't realize he was treating you that way because your head was somewhere else.
Right.
Or he could have really matured since the last time y'all went out, and he learned some things about himself that it still wouldn't have benefited you because you passed and he's on to the next one. And a lot of guys, we don't circle back.
Mm.
You tell us you don't want us. And one of the I made a video today and I just posted it, saying that too many men are selling fantasies in the dating circles. And if she is the real thing or a plaything. That's the video that just dropped today. And guys need to be more honest. If she is a plaything, tell her that.
Wow.
And you're right. And she might say, you know what, you a plaything too, and y'all keep it pushing, and everything is
Mhm.
gravy. Or she might say, I really appreciate you being honest with me. I'm looking for something real. This no longer works for me.
Yeah, and I had that conversation recently, where I said it is good to tell the truth, because when you don't tell the truth, then you are taking away that person's option to either choose to be in that situation or to go someplace else. And so I do think that you should tell the truth. And I know it may be uncomfortable and maybe you don't want to be viewed a certain way, but it's best to go ahead and tell the truth and not take that option away from the person that you're in the situationship with.
No, I think that's only fair. And that's one of the comments that I made in the video was it should be up to the woman to decide. But if you're honest and transparent, then she gets to say, this doesn't work for me, or this is cool for the time being, or I like this. We don't ever have to get more deep than this, because I got a roster too. I got dudes in rotation. This works fine for me. But women should have the choice, and they don't have the choice to make the decision if men are being transparent. So that's why I make the video. And I usually don't make videos for guys because most guys think they know everything.
I guess that's why guys are the ones who are writing all the think pieces.
Yeah, that's right. Because, well, a lot of stuff we have figured out, but will we take our own advice?
Right.
Like you said, yeah, I'm married, happily married, gonna be married. Not only because I took my own advice, but because one of the questions you first asked me was, how did I get all this information? For 25 years, women have been asking me at book clubs, women's meetings, DMing me, hit me up, stopping me at parties saying, hey, you write these books about relationships. And I said, no, I write novels where there are relationships inside of the novel.
Right.
Boy wins girl, boy loses girl. And there's this whole issue. She said, but no, women would say, but you understand relationships. So help me with this situation I got going on. And then, I don't know if you remember years ago, every Friday for a year, I did this thing called Victor Said, where women would write in. Women used to write in submissions, and I would answer them on Facebook for 52 straight weeks. And believe me, it was tough because I had to stop in between books and work and all this other stuff to make sure that I did it. Because one time I forgot. Oh, they let me have it. Where's the Victor Said today? Well, it's Friday. I've been waiting on this. So when people run to see or hear Steve Harvey's Strawberry Letter, and make sure that they're up early, I get it. People want to know what men think about relationships, especially if you're giving sound advice.
Absolutely. Now, how's the response been to the book?
The book is doing very well. What I realized was I need to make sure that my people are writing reviews because they haven't been. And someone said, you don't have a lot of reviews. I said, I don't look at reviews, but that's the extra step in marketing that I need to do.
But reviews are tough. People like them, and they might even email you and say they like the book, but they don't always take the time to go on Amazon or Goodreads or Barnes and Noble or what have you and actually write a review.
Right. I hadn't paid attention, but this is something I need to start paying attention to because the book is selling. And then if you look at the reviews, it looks like not a lot of people are reading it or finishing it. And I get a lot of I get more emails, which is strange, than text messages or DMs saying, hey, I have this issue, or I like the part that you said about dating a guy in my office or dating a guy in my building. I really appreciate you tackling that. Or dating guys who make less than me. I'm a C-level associate at this law firm or this company, and meet a lot of guys who make less than me. For some of them, it's a major problem, but I don't want it to be a problem for the guy that who chooses me. What do I do? And I say the first thing is don't talk about how much money you make.
Right.
If they don't have any idea, they'll probably figure out that you do well. But you start throwing numbers out there, and the guy's like, okay, that's 2-3 times what I make. I'm no longer comfortable with this because I can't match up. And most of the women that do well financially don't want you to match up. They want you to hold them down.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, if you're going to be with somebody who makes less than you, when they say bring something to the table, that doesn't always mean money. Right. It just may mean that, like you said, hold her down, or be faithful, or show some attention. It could be anything.
Right. Be loyal. Tell her she's pretty.
Right.
Girl, I like that. I like I like that you have on. Take it off. Be flirty. Be flirty, be witty, be, the same. And I tell guys this all the time, the same kind of seductive and the same kind of looks you give a woman that you want that isn't yours. Look at your woman the same way and see what kind of response you get. I say, sometimes, brother, you just need to look at your woman right. And you're going to get everything you want.
That is a big one.
Hmm.
So I know we only have a little bit of time left. But what do you have going on next?
I am working on two book projects. One is a fictional story, and if I hopefully I get the book sold because I'm trying to get a serial sequence 3, 4, 5 book deal with the same characters. And
Okay.
Elon Harris told me a long time before he passed away. He said, "Your first 10 books are all different.
Yeah.
None of the characters have followed over. I want to read more about some of your characters." I said, I don't want to do that. I just want to create the stories that come to me. And he talked about, having franchise characters. And for the longest time, I said no. I've done some sequels. I even did a prequel once. But I'm learning that people, if they like the characters, they want to see them again and again. So that's what I'm working on now. A black female detective, got
Ooh.
some serious paranormal skills going on,
Hmm.
which is something I said I'd never write about. But my agent's saying it's hot right now, and I said it could be fun. Yeah, it could be fun. So that's what I'm working on. I'm looking forward to at least getting another novel done this year, and then I'm gonna enjoy marriage, travel, and catch up on a lot of sleep.
Well, you just mentioned what, 3 books?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, there's only 6 months left in the year. And
yeah.
you're talking
Well,
about still trying to enjoy married life this year?
one book I'm already like 10 chapters in. Another book
Okay.
I'm 4 chapters in. So, and you know me, I can write a novel in 90 days. Yeah,
Now
almost
let's talk
all.
about that because there are some people who are going to hear you say that, and they're going to either think that they're behind, or they're going to think, "Oh, I can do it too," and they may not have the writing skills that you have.
Yeah, well, my first book took a year and a half. My second one took about a year. Third one, 9 months. And then I created this very, very simple outline that is um, a single line outline in just big bullet points. This happens, then that happens, then that happens. And I write down everything that comes to mind about the book. And it might be all over the place. And then I'll go and put a number by each one. 1, 2, 7, 8, 9. And I'll group all the ones in the first section and group all the
Okay.
ones in the second section, group them all together. So it reads like a one act play. I'll have all the things in the first section, in the middle, and then at the last, and then I'll separate those out and number those again, which is the fun part. And then that's why I haven't had writer's block since the 90s. So I never have writer's block. I know what I'm going to write every time I sit down to write.
So okay, so you would call yourself a planner when it
Oh,
comes to your
absolutely.
story.
Yeah. Yeah. I measure everything. It drives some people crazy because I am because I am meticulous about, hitting benchmarks and deadlines. And I don't mind losing sleep over it. But what
Mhm.
you won't call me is late on a book.
Now, I'm sure that not only the planning aspect, but it also takes a little bit of dedication. You
Yeah.
can't just write when you feel like it.
Well, no, I mean, and I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of my 90-day novel writing guide. But if they look at victormcglaughlin.com or look me up on Amazon, you'll see it. And believe me, if I can write a book in 90 days, and your first one might not be done in 90 days, but you will eventually use my book to train yourself to write your novels in 90 days. And I'm not talking about novelettes. We're talking about, you know, 300-page novels.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
technically, you can write a 300-page novel in 30 days, but you have to write 10 pages a day.
Yeah. Now, I don't think I could do that because even when I get into my serious writing storms, and I might write for 4 or 5 solid hours, and then I try to get a bite to eat, do something else, watch a TV program, shower, whatever, and come back to it, I'm mentally drained by that point.
Right.
So there are and there are probably people that have maybe a lot more cognitive energy than I do, but no, my 90 days, 80, 90 days, I can get it done. I've been doing this since the 90s.
So now, you do you actually? I know you have the book, but do you actually teach writing workshops too?
I have in the past, and that's one thing I really wish I had time to get back to. I think in the fall I may start it up again because I get so many people saying, "I need help. I need help," and sometimes I'll just say, "Buy the book, and if you have any questions, we'll go through the book and we'll talk about it." Um, the book is so solid that most people say, okay, I got the book. Thank you. I'm gonna check it out. I'll let you know if I need you. And they don't call back or don't
Mm.
email back. So, but some do. Some's like, I'm on page 75 and I don't understand this past present tense. And that's when they got an uphill battle. But but when I first started writing, I had a master's degree, and there were some things I didn't understand about literature either.
Yeah, it's a little tough sometimes because you might be a great writer, but you might be a good journalistic writer, or you
Yeah.
might be a good writer when it comes to writing papers.
Hmm.
But when it comes to actually telling a story and putting somebody into that story, that's an entirely different muscle that you're exercising.
It is, and I just suggest that people try it. Try to start out with a page, turn that page into a chapter, or start out with a short story, and just finish it. I don't care if it's 5 paragraphs, but you have a start, a middle, and an end, and that's what teaches you how to stress that story out, create characters and settings. And I mean, that's how I started. I started out writing short stories.
Love it, love it. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left, but do you have a copy of your dating guide with you?
Yes, I do.
Well, maybe see it.
Yeah, yeah. Rules for slaying the dating games.
Okay, and this is not just for single people. This is for people in a relationship as well.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm glad you mentioned that. So there's chapters on how to sustain a relationship. Uh, there's a big breakup section on how to break up, without, acting a fool out there. So there's some tips, because sometimes you break up and then you want to circle back and say, you know what, I said and did some things wrong. But if you burn a bridge down, you can't go back. So it talks about the best ways, I think, to break up but still remain cordial, and having the opportunity to go back if you have to go back. There's rules for maintaining the magic in marriages. So yeah, everything I thought about, from saying I am ready to date again to break up and everything in between, marriage, the rules for if you're dating a guy who just got divorced or who's separated. How long should you continue in that relationship before you find out if he's serious about getting married or not?
Or
Or
widow?
yeah, widows as well. And
Yeah.
for guys who have gotten divorced that say, I'm never getting married again. What you should
Mm.
be looking for or keeping your eye on if you're dating a guy who does that or says that. For women who've been dating a guy longer than she thinks she should have without being engaged. So there's a chapter about how to get in the ring, put a ring on.
Okay, so there is a little something for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. It goes from 25 years of experience that I've learned from dealing with and talking to a lot of thousands of women. I did a lot of research online. I read a few books from therapists, and they got more into the why. And I wasn't dealing with the why, I was dealing with the how. How to get women in better position to meet more men that they would be interested in.
Love it.
Because people ask me, Victor, I want to meet more good men. Where do I find them? I'm like, walk outside, go to the grocery store, go to, I don't know if they still have nightclubs, but go to a lounge, go to a cigar bar, go to a wine bar, say hello. You see a man looking at you and he's looking at you, looking at what I say hello. Tell him to come here, come here, come here. I like your shoes. I really like your hat. I like your vibe. We looking at each other all night. No, none of us gonna say hello. At least we could do is say hello. And then it'll turn into something else. So that's right there on page 3.
All right now.
Yeah.
Well, we'll probably have to have you back on the show for the sweetest day episode. We can do some more dating tips, because when sweetest day and Valentine's Day comes around, that's when everybody gets mad and they really start talking about dating men.
Yeah. It's like you knew February was coming. You knew February and Valentine's Day were coming, and you didn't what's that, the cuffing season? You didn't
Yeah.
participate in the cuffing season. And now the finals or the championships are upon you, and you haven't even got your team going yet.
All right, y'all. And Christmas is coming up, so if you want a Christmas present, you might want to start now.
Nobody wants to spend the holidays by themselves. So
Right.
yeah, get the dating rules book. Try some of the things in it. It's gonna make you laugh out loud. Get your highlighter, dog ear the pages, circle them. I don't care what you have to do, but make it a point to try some things differently if you want different results.
Amen. Well, Victor, thank you once again for joining me. It's always fun talking with you. Um, Everybody, don't forget, go to victormcglothin.com, get a copy of this book. And if you have read the book, leave a review. He wants to
Yes,
know how you like the book.
please. Yeah, whether you thoroughly enjoyed it or said it wasn't enough or whatever, write a review. Good, bad,
Amen.
or indifferent. Tell people what you thought about it, please.
All right. Well, thank you once again for being on the show. Like I said, if you ever want to come back, all you have to do is just say the word. We're
Okay, well,
happy to have you.
next time we're gonna talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay.
We'll get into it. Thank you for having me. Have a great evening.
And you do the same. Thanks, Victor. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye, Dr. Rhonda.
Okay, that was author Victor McGlothin talking about his new book about slaying the dating game. So make sure you guys get a copy of it because it's a fun read. So now, without any further ado, we're going to be bringing on Shakir. Shakir, you ready? You're looking serious for a second.
Nah, I was reading something, that's all.
Well, how you doing tonight? Thank you for being in the Horizons Author Lounge with me.
All is well, nothing to complain about.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And besides, you can complain and everybody's gonna be like, what you complaining about?
That part right there.
So before we just jump right in there, tell everybody who Shakir Rashaan is. Because and the reason why I say this is because you are a multi-genre author. So I don't even know what is that one genre that you're really known for?
That depends on who you ask. I started in erotica and then I moved on from there. It just I've got so many different genres. I think I've pretty much lost count for the most part. Whatever moves me is what I end up running with. So that's usually how it goes for me.
And
Right
how many
now
books do you have now?
15 at the moment, not including short stories and anthologies and such. Yeah, that's about right.
Oh yeah, you start counting those anthologies, those numbers are gonna go up.
That part definitely. It's a lot. I sometimes I have to try and go through just to remember what I did and didn't do sometimes because I'll have people that come up and they go, I remember from this, and I'm going, oh my god, I did do that, and yeah. So
Well, what's your favorite genre to write? Do you have one, or is that like
um,
choosing your favorite baby?
honestly, it depends on my mood. Right now, I've been in my bag with regard to fantasy and paranormal as of late. Whether I'm dealing in the adult side or dealing in the young adult side, and then of course there's the whole new adult thing that they got going on as far as that in between stage. Like it's like they're over 18, they're under 25, and it's in that little mix, so to speak. So it's been a thing to say the least. But yeah, I've been in my fantasy and paranormal bag as of late. That's what I've been. That's what I've been working on. That's what's currently out on submission. As far as different books that my agent is pushing for me right now. I've got a couple I've got a couple of new ones that I'm working on that are not in that genre. But I'll explain that later.
Okay. And now, all of your books are on your website,
Yeah.
ShakirRashaan.com.
hmm Yeah, the ones that are available for purchase at the moment, I'm still trying to get everything together with regard to my first series. They're starting to come out of print, so I got to figure out how to pivot and figure out how to get that back so I can put those back in the rotation, so to speak.
Okay, so are you working on anything new right now?
Yeah, I am working on a few things. I've got a YA paranormal that's currently out on submission. It's called Phenom. It's actually a if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember how to spell it for people. Basically, it's a how should I explain it to folks? Basically, the soul of a teenage basketball sensation hangs in the balance, and thanks to a Faustian deal that was made before he was even born. That's one of my YA paranormal pitches right now. The other two, one's called the Nemesis Code. I'm basically pitching that one as the Count of Monte Cristo meets How to Get Away with Murder. And then there's a couple of others that I haven't necessarily titled yet that are in the mix as well.
So, you don't write more than one book at a time, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. How do you compartmentalize?
That's a hell of a writing schedule. That's all I can tell people. I have a specific day of what I work on as far as that particular project is concerned,
Mhm.
and then I actually keep up with how much work that I've actually done on that book, so that I don't necessarily pay too much attention to one project over the others, unless something happens and my agent calls and says, okay, they're looking for this particular. How quick can you get this done? So there's that. There's always those priorities that usually come into play as far as that is. I've been in project management in some form or fashion in other industries for the majority of my adult career. So I'm used to working on multiple projects, knowing what the deadlines are, figuring out exactly what has to be done, and making sure that things are prioritized day to day.
So, I don't know if you heard when Victor and I were talking about this. Would you consider yourself a planner? Because apparently there are planners and then there are pantsers. The people
It's
who like by the seat of their pants.
I tell people all the time I am a plantser, which is basically a combination of the two. I do the planning first,
Mhm.
but as I'm writing, anything can happen while you're in the midst of the creation phase. So I have the blueprint. I know where I'm going. I know where the end is. But sometimes there's those side missions that pop up that you don't necessarily expect to happen, and you kind of follow the path as where it's going to go. See how it ties into the main outline that I may have created for it, and kind of works out from there. It's worked out beautifully for me.
Yeah, I would say I'm a bit of a plantser myself. I like to plan my characters. I
Hmm.
know what I want the plot to be and where I want it to go, but when I start writing, if I'm going into a different direction, I will go ahead and explore that direction.
Right.
And I'll let the story take me where it wants to take me. And sometimes it's not always what I planned at the very beginning.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's it. And like I said, it doesn't work for everybody. It works for me. People like to have that one solid project that they want to get in, get ready, get done, and then move on to the next one. I've just never been that tight.
Right. Well, now one thing you mentioned also is that you wanted to talk about being a male author. You've been in the industry for how many years now?
This is year 15 for me.
Wow, it's amazing how time flies, huh?
Yeah, it's like you start thinking about it. I was like, I looked at it earlier and I was like, oh my God, it has been that long. And you just kind of you don't pay attention until you actually start to sit down and actually, go through everything. It's like, yeah, from the first time that I independently published The Awakening up until this point, it's 15 and counting.
Wow, wow. So have in your 15 years, what has been the big difference? Because I don't know. When I growing up in the literary industry, I always thought that male authors had it a little bit easier because it seemed like a lot of the male authors I saw when I went to book festivals,
Mhm.
they would smile at the lady and they would talk, and next thing you know, the lady's like, "Yeah, I'll buy your book." But the women sometimes I felt like we had to work a little harder to sell our books.
The ground has shifted quite
Mm,
literally in a manner of speaking. Like maybe that might have been the case at one time, and I'm not suggesting that it wasn't. But now the paradigm has shifted tremendously in a manner of speaking. There is a in a lot of instances for me personally, I have to do a little bit more. Um, as far as getting a woman who likes to read in the genres that I write to trust that I know what I'm doing.
mm,
And the reason for that is that in a lot of instances, what our counterparts dealt with in the 90s and parts of the 2000s, there was not a lot of independent publishing going on at that time. So when they made it through the gate, so to speak, there were people who were helping to polish their work in such a manner that it doesn't feel problematic in a manner of speaking.
mm.
Now, with the advent of independent publishing, self publishing, however you want to call it, there's not as much polish in a manner of speaking. Like they feel like, okay, I can run it through this software, I can run it through this, and
Right.
That's enough for me. And then they'll put it out there and then get upset because nobody's reading it because it's not as much
There's no heart
development of
in
the
it. You can
characters.
use Chat GPT, but the Chat GPT isn't going to put the heart into your story. It's not going to bring your characters alive. I mean,
Yeah, even
it might
before,
do a little
yeah,
bit for you, but
yeah,
you can't write.
even before we got to Chat GBT, which is a whole other thing that I don't even want to touch in that regard because I just don't use it. But um, when you used a lot of the suggestions with regard to how Microsoft Word used to do a lot of grammar corrections in some instances, as far as that was, and then you get people who they'll use different softwares over the time. We've had uh, Grammarly as of recently, Pro
Mhm.
Writing Aid as of recently, and things of that nature before Chat GPT became a thing. But at the same time, it was just you had to learn how to either do it on your own until you could afford to do better,
Right.
and then once you could afford to do better, then you stuck with that program. um, I've been blessed in a lot of instances that I've had editors that I've been able to afford over the course of my career. So that's helped out tremendously as far as my works are concerned. As far as the ones that have been traditionally published, they're professionals in that industry, so they know, in a manner of speaking, what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done, and we kind of work through things in that regard. So I've been, that I think that's been the difference in terms of what our counterparts dealt with back then, and how it might have been a little easier, I guess, as far as that was, because they were with traditional published houses, and there's an inherent trust that you have a team that is working to make that man look good, in a manner of speaking. You don't have that in independent publishing a lot.
But would you venture to say that even if you are a traditionally published author and there is going to be a team, so to speak, reading your book, that you should probably read it first before sending it to that team?
Yeah, first and last, definitely. I mean, I did that regardless. I'm like, I made sure that it was as tight as it could be before I put it in,
Hmm.
and then once the editors got through it, we went through it, as a team, figured out what could go, what stayed, um, what made it engaging, what didn't, and then once we got through with everything in terms of all of the editing that had to be done, yeah, I did one more good read just to make sure that everything was exactly the way I wanted it, and then we
Right.
put it out. So it worked out, and it still works out. That
Yeah,
that
I'll
that
tell you.
formula has not failed me yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing: we should never edit our own work, and we should also not depend on the editor to do it all. We've got to read our own work because if
Absolutely,
we're not excited to read our work, who else is going to be excited to read it?
absolutely.
So, now speaking of editing, since we're talking a bit about it, and you writing so many different genres, have you had found yourself having to use a different type of editor depending on the genre of the book you're writing, or do you
Yeah.
have somebody who maybe okay,
No, absolutely. The thing about dealing with you, it's there's not an editor that's going to be a one size fit all, so to speak, because there are editors that have a specialty. They have a favorite genre that they love to edit because they've read it. They've read enough of it that they can really kind of help you with the beats, help you with the pacing, the rhythm, figuring out whether or not this is going to work, or if this concept needs to be polished a little bit more, whether there needs to be some aspects that need to be added. Not necessarily that they're pulling from those other books that they've read, but it's just a simple matter of they have a better feel for
right,
what works and what doesn't work. If you have an author that writes reverse harems per se, and you give it to an editor doesn't have a doesn't have a real affinity for reverse harems, they're not going to do you the same justice as a person who likes that genre, because they'll be
right,
like they'll almost put they'll try their best not to, but they'll have a bias against what you're writing. and it'll show up in the editing stage. I've seen it happen way too many times.
Absolutely. And I always share this, that I did not realize I was doing it until somebody kind of pointed it out to me, that everybody does not write the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And just because they didn't write something the way you would write it does not mean that it was necessarily wrong. So
Okay.
often editors have to be careful when they're editing not to put things in their own voice. You
Right.
have to let that author maintain their own voice. And that
Yeah,
was
you're
something I
absolutely
didn't realize I was doing until somebody pointed it out to me when I was editing their work. And I was making it sound like the way I would write it.
right.
And I was
Right.
like, oh wait, I can't do that. I'm so glad you pointed that out to me because I never noticed that I was doing it. And so
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
now that I'm more conscious of it when I edit people's work, I want to make sure that it's written correctly, but at the same time, I want to let that author have their own unique voice because they write in a certain way and their readers have come to expect that way of writing.
And a lot of it is just having a simple conversation before you even touch the project.
Absolutely.
That really goes a long way to cutting down on a lot of the frustration between editor and client. Because if you think you know before you even open page one, and then you get to page one and you go, oh my God, what is this? And you didn't have that conversation beforehand that, hey, there may be a lot of AAVE dialect in here. There may be a lot of slang that you may not be comfortable with dealing with or reading, and
Hmm.
trying to help me correct, or whatever the case may be at that point. So, there may be a lot of profane language that you may not personally like to read, but
Right.
you've got a person who literally that is part of their platform, that's part of their writing style, and you have to be either okay with it or not okay with it. But you can't be until you actually either get a sample or you have a conversation before any kind of project changes hands, because now everybody's, now the client is upset, the editor feels like they've wasted time, it becomes a whole problem, and then there goes a relationship that could have been better if communication had been better.
Right. And the more you have that conversation and the more you get to know your client or your editor, whichever side of the coin you're on,
Mm-hmm.
the better the editing project is going to be because you understand each other a lot better now. And
Yeah, absolutely.
hopefully, the author is not just accepting all of the edits and say, okay, I'm good, take it.
Nah, sometimes you
It's
can.
bad too.
Sometimes you may have to go through a couple passes just to make sure everything is where it needs to be. I mean, I've had those conversations where it's like, hey, this is what I meant to do here, and it ties in later on in the manuscript, and you have to be able to have that give and take, and not necessarily that's an ego thing or anything along those lines, that you feel that you know your story better than the editor knows. Sometimes there may be something in those beats that the editor is seeing that you may not see, and vice versa. There may be some things. I mean, I've had it when it came to some of the books that I've done from a traditional standpoint. They would teach me things that I didn't realize was standard now, versus,
Mm,
okay, I may have to teach them something from a cultural perspective when it comes to the different whatever character and whatever time and whatever place that they happen to be at that time. There's things that I may have researched that they may not know, and we're teaching each other as we're going.
um, I have um, a, a good example of that. In one of my books, I think it was Putting It Back Together, there was a scene where a football player with the New Orleans Saints had
Mm-hmm.
gone out to eat with his family. And my editor was wondering why people weren't getting all excited over him and running up to his table and signing autographs. I had
Right.
to tell the editor, I said, people in New Orleans don't do that. We might look up and say, oh, there goes so and so right there. And then we'll look
Mm-hmm.
over and like, oh, that's cool. And then we go right back to eating. We're not running
Right.
over to that person's table. We're not jumping up and down asking for autographs. We might ask for an autograph if we happen to be standing outside the restaurant at the same time later on. But we
Mm-hmm.
just, New Orleans, we didn't get that excited over seeing a celebrity.
Right.
Now,
And
okay, now if it's
that's the thing that has,
right, but that's different.
yeah, that part. I guess it's just a matter of you have to know who you're dealing with. You have to know the audience that you're dealing with, and then you also have to know the background that you're creating, the world that you're creating. If you know what happens in this town, or you have people who live in that town, that or that city or that country that know better than you lean on that, and
Yes,
you govern yourself accordingly, in a manner of speaking.
absolutely, absolutely. So now tell me, I'm loving this. First of all, this conversation on writing. But when did you fall in love with writing?
God, I was probably right before high school. Definitely, yeah.
Right before high school.
Um, I was good at telling stories from an oral perspective. My grandfather kind of helped hone those skills when I
Mhm.
was younger, and then when I actually got a chance to learn how to put words together, um, that was probably right before I got to high school, and then it really took off once I got to high school because I had English teachers that saw the potential and just kind of cultivated from there.
So it's always good when a teacher recognizes your potential and then helps you to cultivate that potential.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I without them, I probably wouldn't I probably would not have, written as much as I did. Because I mean, I was, my when I was in high school, I was actually dealing more on the STEM side of things in terms of
Okay.
engineering and mathematics and that type of thing. And the wild part was when I finally got to take the SATs, I actually scored higher on the English version than I did in the math. So I should have took the hint then that maybe that wasn't exactly what my forte actually was, but you know you know how it goes. It's like you have a certain idea in your head when you're younger, and then things change when you finally have a chance to get some experience under your belt.
Absolutely. We're talking with author Shakir Rashaan. Do you have any copies of your book with you right now?
No, not in, unfortunately. No, I'm literally in.
Shakir.
I'm expecting ship. I'm expecting shipments coming in this week because I have to deal with Indie Love this weekend.
Oh, okay. So is that where you're located, or where are you located now?
I'm in Atlanta. Yes.
Okay. Somebody else had posted that they were going to be at Indie Love.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of us there as far as that is. We'll be there Friday and Saturday. I know Friday is the author meet and greet, and then Saturday is the actual event. So um it'll be a quick it'll be a quick hit because we're in by I think 10, 11, and we're out by 5. So it ain't gonna be, it's not an all day thing, thankfully, but
Mm.
it'll be enough of a pressure cooker that's like between doing the book signings and then doing the panel discussions and all of those things as well. It should be a real quick run.
Okay. Now, is it too late for people to sign up or get tickets? How does it work? I've not been
To my
able to get.
knowledge, Indie Love has been sold out for weeks. So I
Oh
don't
wow.
know if she's going to open up for maybe day passes or anything like that for the day of the event. I don't know,
Mhm.
but to my knowledge, it's been sold out for weeks.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that's something you don't see every day. For a book event to be sold out like that.
Yeah,
And
Jocelyn
you're not
has been
talking about signing, you're not talking about authors signing up to be a part of it. You're talking about
the
authors
readers.
or readers
Yeah,
going to the event.
the readers have been ridiculous with it. It's like she's done work for she first started. I think Jocelyn first started the event back in 2015. I actually was a part of her first crew that first year, and it was actually a really big event back then too. And then she eventually, I think she started doing New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken. I think she did one maybe a couple of years ago. Don't quote me on that. It's been a minute since I've actually had the chance to keep
Well,
up with her
it's a
in
live
that
show. I don't
regard.
have to quote you. It's already, you done already said it.
At any rate, but yeah, she's gone out of town, and it did well. It traveled well in that regard too. I mean, so then she came back here. We'll be doing, as I understand it, I plan to be there. I don't know how well that's going to work, but we'll see how that plays. But her 10th anniversary is next year, and I'm definitely planning on being there next year as well to help celebrate the 10-year. But built a she's built a very well put together conference in a very short time.
Well, that's awesome. I did put the website in the chat for people
Mm-hmm.
who want to at least take a look and see what this event is all about. And it does say right on the website that the event is sold out. So if you want to attend this year, you might be out of luck, unless you want to go there and hope somebody feels sorry for you and lets you in, or maybe there's somebody doing the hustle man thing and trying to sell their tickets outside. I don't know. It's Atlanta, you know.
Yeah, I was about to say this is Atlanta. You never know.
Mhm. So what other events do you have coming up anytime soon?
Right now I am outside of Indie Love itself. There are a few things that are pending, but I'm trying to see whether they get nailed down first. That's why I can't really say anything about them at the moment.
Okay.
But as far as just, I know there's one in September, one in late September that'll be here in Atlanta. There's one up in Chicago. I may be there in October, but I'm not really sure about that as well. Like I said, everything is still kind of floating around at this point. So I'm just trying to make sure that we nail things down at this point. And then we start working on 2025's calendar. I know I got invited to an event up in Detroit
Okay.
in April to be a featured author up there. So I'm really humbled about that as well. And
Nice.
then we'll see what the rest of next year looks like at this point. But for now, I know Indie Love this week. The other two events in September and October, hopefully, as those plans solidify, I'll be able to broadcast as well.
Okay, sounds good. Now we're coming up to the top of the hour.
Mhm.
So in these last couple of minutes, this is Men's Health Month,
Right.
and so what we wanted to do was interview men throughout the month of June. And so as we go into these last couple minutes, if you want to take a minute or so to talk about how can you as a man, you as a black man, um, put your mental health first. As often men sometimes put themselves on the back burner because they have to take care of their family, or they have to work, or they have to do this, or they have to do that.
Right.
And sometimes they don't think about just relaxing, or they think that if they're relaxing or they're taking care of themselves, it's at the expense of someone else. So
Mhm.
if you'd like to take this last minute or so just to talk about how you maintain your mental health.
A lot of it is literally building in the time, whether I like it or not. I know my wife and my girls are really on me about doing that because I grind out a lot. I mean, my days are anywhere between 14 and 16 hours a day, depending on what has to be done, what has to either deliverables for my agent or just right time as far as the projects are concerned. Um, my regular gig as far as what I do for a living away from writing, that takes a significant portion of my time as well. So they've been on me about, shut it down for an hour. They'll be all
Yes.
right, that type of thing. So, that's what I usually try to do is usually after I get off of my primary occupation, I usually go outside in the backyard. We've cultivated it in such a manner where it's supposed to be not necessarily a safe space, so to speak, but just a space of being able to just be in the quiet, be in peace, be able to just relax for a little bit. As far as that is, anybody that knows me knows that I have two vices. I have my cigars and I have my bourbon. And 9 times out of 10, I'm usually relaxing back there doing one or both. One point of, for as far as that is, and if I'm not doing that, then I've either got a tablet in my hand or I've got a book in my hand just to
Yeah.
do some pleasure reading.
I keeps my computer around and I try to get more reading done, more relaxing reading, or I'll take my walk with my
The
audiobook.
thing
But I
that
gotta
helped
do something.
Yeah, the thing that helped me was I actually left everything in my office. I had a real bad habit of keeping my laptop with me in my bedroom, and it was nothing for me to just, okay, I can just do a quick pivot, pick up my laptop. Okay, I got some more work to get done. Next thing I know, I'm looking at the clock and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I got no business being
That's
up
me.
that late.
I ain't gonna lie, that's me.
Yeah, so the one major switch was I put all of my productive equipment in my office and left it there as a single area, and then kind of go from there at that point.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, well, I put this comment into the chat. Shanika Dupree was mad because you didn't have your books with you. She said you're supposed to keep at least one copy on you.
She's not lying, but I mean, I'm serious. I literally got, I think the last event that I did a while back, back in either February or March. It was right after my birthday, if I remember correctly. And I sold out and forgot to really do anything to really replenish the stock, so to speak.
Yeah.
So forgive me. I'm sorry. It works out that way. It's a beautiful problem to have, but at the same time, it caught me in between. I was hoping to have something available to at least show a physical copy, and
it happens. But that's good problems to have, then, because you're sold out of books. I mean, you can't get mad at that.
Right.
Well, Shakir, thank you so much for being with me tonight in the Horizons Author Lounge. I really enjoyed the conversation.
It's always a pleasure.
Did the same. And yeah, and just like I told Victor, if you ever want to come back to the show, all you have to do is say the word. You always have a standing spot here. All you have to do is just say it.
Well, I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a wonderful evening.
All right, you too. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, y'all. That is the end of the show. I just finished talking with Shakir Rashaan a little earlier. We talked with Victor McGlothin. And if you missed the top of the show, we also announced the winner of the Meet the World Image Solutions Graduating Senior Scholarship Contest. It is Brazil Perkins. Congratulations once again. You will be receiving a congratulatory letter from us later this week. And then we'll also need to arrange with you to get your funds to you. But I just want to congratulate you. I think it's amazing when people, especially our young people, put forth that extra effort and take their education in their own hands. I mean, she has great grades. I'm sure she's going to be fine when it comes to getting her education. But the fact that she still took the time to complete this scholarship and competed against other people. She wasn't the only person who competed for the scholarship. So I just want to thank you for participating, and I want to congratulate you for all of your accomplishments, and I wish you all the best in the future. And like I said, you'll be hearing from me again very soon. But that's all we have for this week, everybody. Thank you for participating. Thank you for engaging. Help us to make this show continue to grow. We are growing in numbers on YouTube, and that's thanks to you guys. So I want to thank you guys for that. And I see you all over in Instagram. Thank you for participating as well. Let's keep this show going and growing so we can continue to support up-and-coming authors of all genres, of all backgrounds. This is what the show is all about. So make sure you join me tomorrow for Black Authors Matter TV on the National Black Book Festival page. And then join me next week where I'll be interviewing 2 more male authors to round out the month of June, Men's Health Month. So that's all I have. You guys have a wonderful evening. God bless you and keep reading.